Welcome to Rainbow Jesus 3000, the show where we explore wild thoughts and stack them against our Christian worldview. We have the conversation, so your pastor doesn't have to.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Rainbow Jesus 3000. Today we are talking about...
Well, you don't know, do you?
I have no idea, and I'm so excited because you told me it's funny.
Yeah, I think we're trying out this new structure. It's been a few episodes now where Cody actually doesn't have a hot clue.
Zero.
And the question is, are we going to poop in heaven? Okay? That's the question, do we poop in heaven? And I'd like to rearrange the question a little bit.
How?
It's very easy to rearrange it. Pooping in heaven would imply, do we have heavenly buttholes? Okay?
Okay.
So, do we have heavenly buttholes? And one more step is, I think we should start at the beginning with Adam and Eve.
Oh, I thought you were about to break into song.
No,
From
I
Sound of
do
Music.
not sing.
No.
So I think we could start the conversation day one in Genesis chapter 1. I think we could start the conversation there and then end up in heaven.
Like, are you saying we start there because the Garden of Eden is resemblance of heaven?
More so, me and you, at least from what I understand us, believe that, first of all, I think we would, under the premise of our version, what we believe in our worldview and Christianity is that heaven is a very real, tangible place. So we will die, and then we will one day get a new resurrected bodies, and heaven will come down to this earth, and we will experience heaven in this earth for eternity.
Okay.
That is at least our, foundation for this argument. I think you can be a Christian and not believe that, and then you can turn this off. That's fine, or you can listen because it's really funny. But we're kind of operating under heaven being for eternity. We're going to be kind of on this earth for eternity with a new body. Will we be pooping in heaven? And we have often arrived at this with, did Adam and Eve's original sin, because of their sin, are we now stuck with pooping? You know what I mean? Like we often say, haven't we often said, because of the fall, blank, 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 and blank.
Yeah.
But then once Jesus comes back to make things right, things get restored, and the restoration is pre-fall.
So essentially you're saying up until Jesus came, everybody was constipated? And then after that, it's free-flowing?
No, what I'm getting at is we've often said, because of Adam and Eve's sin and the fall of man, the world is in its current state, right? So there's sin, it's fallen apart, it's a broken world, there's beauty in the world, but it's a broken world, right? And so we've often heard, at least our pastor, which I think has got it right, in that, heaven will be, this planet will be restored back to what God originally intended this planet to be. Okay. All right? So with that springboard, do you feel like when God made Adam was pooping?
Yes, without a doubt.
Without a doubt,
Hands down.
He was pooping.
Yeah, like he put his hands down on the ground when he pooped.
Because it wasn't like because of the fall we started pooping.
No.
It wasn't like Eve goes and has this apple and goes, "Oh man, I've got a new hole," and Adam goes, right? And Adam goes, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, check this out." Right?
That's the temptation. I want one of those. Give me that.
Yeah. Where's your hole? Between your butt cheeks? I want one of those.
So they potentially just had butt cheeks with no hole there?
Well, you got to think about it, right? So I think we would say that's ridiculous, no? We're not saying Eve bites the apple, the fruit, whatever, and brand new butthole. What does this do? Oh! And Adam goes, that's cool, I want one. What did you do? I ate the fruit. Okay, boop, hole. That's not what happened, is it?
I mean, I wasn't there.
It's like...
that would be temptation.
You've got one, I want one?
Yeah. I'd be a little bit jealous.
I would be too. I'll be honest, that might in and of itself. You got a sweet new hole, I want one too.
Yeah.
Where's that? That's interesting, right? Like,
But even then, is it interesting? They have nothing to compare it to.
so it's more than just the butthole, though. Like, there's a whole digestive tract, gastrointestinal
Yeah.
system. If Eve would have bit the fruit and boop comes the butthole, we're saying instantaneously. I mean, the stomach will have then had some small intestines, large intestines, the bladder system. Isn't our whole body very much connected to our intestinal system?
Well,
like-
100%. If it didn't have it, you would die.
So, like, it's pretty safe to say that when Eve bites this apple, God isn't
Well,
instantaneously creating new organs. Like, there's no...
How else would they have consumed anything other than water?
Exactly. So
But
even the fact
even
of
then,
eating, right?
Like, from a scientific point of view, I don't know this for fact, but since our bodies are 80-something, whatever percent water,
This deserves a...
that there's got... I can say from my extensive knowledge of my own personal butthole that there is some moisture content in that, because I ain't pooping out dust. Right?
You got me to laugh, which is tough. Don't you feel like, could God have created a body where we're eating and there's a stomach, but there's no waste? Like, poop is waste. I feel like it's more than just...
I feel like if there was such a thing, it would be in a platypus. I did it again!
Our joke is a platypus is ridiculous. That's God's sense of humor.
Yeah. Anyways.
Like, we're not saying that biting the apple instantaneously new organs were popped
Never.
into
I
you.
don't think anybody thinks that.
That's my point.
Because how would you couldn't consume anything of any nutrition without being able to excrete the stuff that has no nutritional value.
So because that feels so outrageously stupid, right? There's no poop, new butthole. There's none of that.
Did you say poop, new butthole?
I did. It works.
Clever.
Yeah. I mean, based off our just newfound science
Hold on,
and
pause.
history.
We're new to this. Terry's foot keeps touching the table, so if the camera was shaking, I'm sorry. Move your foot.
Hint taken. I get it.
Unpause, continue.
Yes. So, our newfound logic, we've logically concluded with ethics science that very likely Adam and Eve had buttholes before they ate the apple, right? Which I feel like we're saying God in his infinite wisdom and creating us beautifully and wonderfully made, that part of the initial design from Adam and even Eve was full-on mouth hole, throat, stomach, intestinal, butthole system, right?
Yep.
It's tied to the body in a number of ways.
Yep.
Toxins are released, all sorts of things. It's a very incredibly useful and necessary and beautiful system that was there from day one.
How about that? Did you ever think of your butthole as a beautiful system? Generally not the words we would use to describe that.
We explore it, so
But-
the pastor doesn't have to.
So your pastor doesn't have to.
So we're saying that the body was perfected from day one, very likely with a butthole.
I would go one step beyond very likely.
With almost certainty.
It is.
Yes. Okay, so, yes.
Correct. Do angels have buttholes?
I don't know.
I think they do, because if they have food, where does it go? But I don't know what their digestive system looks like.
Angel poop. I've never had this conversation
Right?
ever.
That's... Never mind.
Interesting. Maybe they do.
I wonder what their toilets are like.
Godly.
Do they sit on the throne?
Okay, this is interesting.
Foot off the table.
Yeah, okay. So fun. My premise was that if God made Adam and Eve perfect to begin with, I think it's reasonably logical to carry that over to in heaven when everything is restored back to perfection.
Okay, hold
We
on.
continue
hold on.
having a digestive
I
system.
want to interject. You said God made Adam and Eve perfect to begin with.
Yes.
Does it say that in the Bible he made them perfect? Because if he made them with the ability to sin...
I don't think that makes them imperfect. I think he demanded, or I think the philosophical world would say God needed to create a world where humans had the ability of free will so that love was true and not coerced.
Okay, yeah.
So I think from a philosophical kind of necessity, God needed to introduce free will, and it was inevitable after time, temptation would win, to create the fall. And I think because of that, the plan of Jesus and redemption, all that, was released afterwards.
So then in heaven, to eliminate the potential for sin to happen again, we are stripped of freedom.
Now that is a deep question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm on the spot. I feel like if I was prepped for an episode, I might do a little bit of research for that.
Okay.
Get the Bible Christian pastor answers.
I would just tie that back to our previous episode where we're talking about freedom and where does happiness come from?
Right.
And where's your freedom? So
are you okay if we table that for another one?
Yeah.
Because that's a good one. What was it again? You asked free will in heaven. Maybe we should explore that one episode.
Yeah. Would you guys like that? You can comment below.
It's worth it. It's worth a good discussion.
Tell your friends to do that too.
Shameless, this guy is. Okay, so my attempt was to say pre-fall, pre-original sin, Adam and Eve had buttholes.
Yep.
Would you agree you have read in the Bible, and maybe I should pull the scriptures out, but there's feasts in heaven.
Yeah.
We are eating in heaven.
Yeah.
There is manna in heaven.
Hope so. I want to try it.
The manna from heaven came down to feed the Israelites when they were in the desert. Okay? So I feel like there's...
Manna wasn't ever good.
Don't ever just say that again! So would you agree there's multiple spots in the Bible that talk about eating in heaven?
Yes. Which, also, just to put that in there, somebody has to make the food, which means there's jobs in heaven, because making food is work. Just saying.
Throw that one out there.
Get ready to work.
Or heavenly angel servants that do slave labor for us, which could be a fun talking point.
Let's talk about slavery at some point, because I like that one, because what people think slaves are now is not what slaves used to be, and slaves, and it's
back in the day.
Freedom.
All right.
Freedom.
A lot of content.
I feel American. I say freedom so much now. I mean, I'm kind of, we're North American.
Yes. So there's food in heaven. We're going to eat in heaven. Now, if we don't poop in heaven.
I wonder, okay, sorry.
If we don't poop in heaven, that means that there was nothing from what we took into our mouth hole that ends up getting pooped out, right? It all stays in. But I think we're
going to get real big at that point.
Fat? Yeah.
No, well, just volume-wise.
Fat. Obesity. I don't think we're
I don't know if it'll be obese. You just literally, if it can't go anywhere and you can't die.
Something's got to give.
Maybe that's where planets come from. They're just overfed people.
Okay, so I actually think we would have a butthole in heaven.
100%, you have to. Otherwise you'd fill up like a balloon. And then you couldn't enjoy all the great things about heaven, like dirt biking from a mountain into the ocean.
And I would come at it from, a butthole isn't sinful.
Has that ever been a thought?
I feel like, don't you think there's this inherent idea that, genitalia, buttholes, talking about Jesus peeing, it all seems a bit taboo, a bit gross, and we don't want to picture perfect heaven and then like a stinky butthole.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. I feel like that's different for me in the last 5 years or so, because I work in blue-collar industry and I'm around farms a lot, and you just see
cows poop.
You just see how life
we take
works.
That
this
poop,
is where
we chuck
food
it on the
goes.
ground and we rub it on the soil, and then we get some nice tasty corn out of it.
Yeah. And then I eat that corn.
And it just repeats.
Circle of life. It's a thing. And it's teach your kids circle of life now.
But do you not think though that ideas like buttholes just feel not very spiritual and godly?
I feel like people don't want to talk about it lots because it's dirty and I don't know if sinful is right.
That's the thing. It can't be sinful.
No, God made it and said it was good.
Yeah.
So all of you that don't like your butt, God made it and said it was good. So learn to like it.
Don't shame yourself. Now, there's a cultural context where I think in most cultures, and even ours, it's maybe not appropriate to talk about a butthole in front of a mayor.
Depends on the mayor.
Well, most people would
if you
say
can
that.
talk about buttholes in front of the mayor, that mayor was elected for a really good reason, and therefore you're free game.
I mean, I think Donald Trump has proven you can get away with a lot, but I think in general, there's some social, cultural things where things are dirty. I think, wasn't it not in the Middle East where shaking hands with your dominant hand was actually bad because that's the same hand you wipe with?
Yeah.
So that's weird.
That's still a thing.
Dirty, whatever's dirty is very cultural and almost regional.
Yeah.
Right? So at least in our Bible Belt Canada area, stuff like buttholes you don't have in the same conversation as worshiping Jesus in heaven. It's
true. None of our worship songs say anything about our buttholes.
And I'm actually okay with that. Like
it's an appropriate. There's a time and a place for what you're talking about, right?
I think so. Honestly, when I get to meet God face to face for the first time, it's going to be a very, very holy, awesome, in the awe-inspiring, reverent way. I don't think I'm going to pull a butthole joke out on day one with Jesus.
What if he pulls one out?
I would fist pump him day one if he did, right? So I think Jesus has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
I think God does too. But I think at least these early interactions of God actually revealing himself to us humans kind of in the grand end story. Mm-hmm. I think stuff like buttholes and fart jokes and penis jokes are probably inappropriate. I don't know what cultural nuances we'll have in heaven.
That's the thing. Is that even going to be funny to us? Because what is culture in heaven? What is that?
Because we're saying this whole conversation is, we're tackling it in a very immature way.
Very.
Hopefully kind of funny. But the idea of pooping in heaven isn't the stupidest thing to talk about.
No. It's one of the mechanics of life.
Yeah, and right? I think we're trying to demystify at least what we feel like heaven's going to be like, which is God's going to restore this planet and bring us back to a place it was before sin. And I think our bodies were beautifully made, and functions like pooping.
They still are.
That guy's this is dad bod. So, I think that's where maybe the more deeper part of this conversation is, which is we're demystifying something, but really if we bring it down to earth, will I get sweaty in heaven because I am worshiping Jesus so hardcore? Maybe. I'm not much of the hand waver worshiper.
You might be.
But I might lift weights for Jesus. I don't know what I'm going to do, right? So I'm not lifting weights. Let's just be serious.
Not around him, at least.
No. So, I mean, are we going to be talking about buttholes in front of God day one? I don't think so. I think there is a bit of a...
I feel like you could, and it would be totally appropriate. It would be fine, but there's just way bigger things.
There's better things to talk about than a heavenly butthole.
Yeah. I will say that I'm all for... I love blue-collar industry. Just all of it is fascinating. That's the mechanics of the world. It makes life turn, right? So, I just think of if you're, Jesus' personal plumber, you in every single right have to go, holy shit! And it's totally fine.
Well, and then, so we would say, some people would say, holy shit it's a swear word.
Yeah.
Right? I do have on our list of things to talk about one day, which is swearing.
But when that time comes, I don't know.
so how it's not next episode.
Okay.
It's not next episode, but
just watch. Now it's gonna be a surprise.
I should just
You would be that guy that would do that.
That'd be good.
I have no idea.
So, I mean, I'm thinking we're saying, yeah, we've got buttholes in heaven. We're pooping in heaven.
Mm-hmm. Does Jesus' poop look different than ours?
It's a physics question, is it not? A diet question?
It's probably a diet. I don't know about well,
the physics...
maybe physiology.
there's science and math to extrusions. Like Plato.
We're already talking about his peeing. Can he poo with the same velocity?
I think part of me feels like, I mean, it's fully human. It's gonna look like that.
I don't think it's any different. It's more so just a funny topic to bring up.
Well, and then it's borderline. What are we allowed to talk about Jesus? Like we did an episode on Jesus peeing, but there's some things me and you have said we maybe don't want to imagine Jesus getting into, and I think we're probably doing it because we want to. I guess we want to respect him a little bit. Like I think the premise of our show is we want to talk about the taboo. But there's probably still some boundaries we would maybe shy away from.
Like, is it disrespectful to talk about his butthole?
I don't know.
I feel like if he's fully human, then like why would it be?
I think context is everything. If we're trying to make Jesus look bad to the world, I think the motive is not right. If we're trying to maybe just talk about how human he actually was, maybe for a bit of humor, so be it.
God made humor.
Yeah, I'm not sure really. I personally, I was okay with talking about Jesus having a peeing contest with Peter. The context was humor all around.
Yeah.
Now, are we gonna get into Jesus and sexual activity? Maybe at some level, but we're gonna treat it a bit respectfully.
Yeah,
I think, right?
Yeah, that one you have to. Okay, I see what you mean. Certain areas you need to have some respect for it.
So that's why I kind of tackled the heavenly one.
Yeah.
Do we as people have buttholes in heaven?
And
the question wasn't, does Jesus have one? It's kind of us, all of us, collectively.
Our question, I would say, though, it's more from a curiosity standpoint and like, let's discuss this.
Yeah.
We're not trying to harm the image of Jesus. We're not putting him down or anything.
Which I think is important.
I don't think we're lessening the value of Jesus.
Yeah, I think we're trying to explore what heaven's like. Yeah. And I feel like it's clear we're going to be eating some good food. Now, I talk a lot with some friends on like gluttony in heaven, and how much food are we going to eat, which relates to how much pooping are we going to do, and all of this, right? You touched on, do we have toilets then in heaven? If we're going to poop, where does it go?
Do we have plumbing?
Are we pooping in holes?
I don't know.
Do angels take away our poop and chuck it into the sun? Where does our poop go now? My poop hits the lagoon 2 miles that way.
So, like, I think everybody has, like, their own image of what heaven is going to be like.
Totally.
And it's, like, so mine is, like, it's this grand, vast, like Rivendell type of thing from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like, it's just beautiful place. There's waterfalls everywhere. It's just gorgeous, but there's not a lot of, like, modern technology type stuff. Like,
that's a question I have on my list.
But I want it to be both, right? I want it to be, but like it would be both, like, but not like anything we can comprehend right now. We just don't know.
And so what's not fair to these guys watching is we have a similar view of what heaven is like because we've gone to the same church.
Okay.
We were brought up in the same Bible Belt, Canada. We're very conservative, yet I think most of us in our area have a very similar way of tackling heaven because of our pastors. Yeah. So I feel like our view of heaven, we can assume everybody thinks heaven's like we think. I think there's Christians out there who don't want to taint their version of what heaven is, and God forbid we make it feel too real. It should feel very spiritual and clean and singing with harps and all that. And we're not saying that a Christian doesn't have to believe our version of heaven is the right one in order to get to heaven.
Yeah.
Getting to heaven it's between you and God.
Yeah.
Right? You can get saved like that.
Yep.
For
all we know, Hitler's going to be in heaven.
For all we know, Hitler could be in heaven, right? Yeah. The guy on the cross literally did nothing after he accepted Christ. He just died immediately after.
Yeah.
And he goes to heaven. So all these people that we think are awful people could have had a moment, boom, and they're in heaven.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Where I think the discrepancies can get into is what does heaven look like? Mm-hmm. And I don't think every Christian has to agree with each other on that. I do think we can find enough points in Scripture to paint a picture of it.
Yeah.
does it have to be every Christian believes this? If you're a viewer and you don't think you're going to have a butthole in heaven and we think we will, we don't have to fight. We can still love the same God.
We know you want to, because that's what the internet is for.
That's what the internet's for. Yeah.
So maybe we just need to say that clear. This is just our opinion, and what's right, what's wrong, who knows?
Well, how many minutes in are we? Do we think I think we're almost at 30 minutes, which is kind of our goal. And if we're a bit, I think we're about 25 minutes.
You could also let us know about that in the comments. Is this too long, or do you want more?
Because we've been talking about this. Like, some things we could just blow up into 2-hour conversations.
It's true.
I assume that nobody wants to hear me talk for longer than 30 minutes.
You make that assumption. I think a lot of people assume that, but I listen to some podcasts that are an hour and 45 minutes long, and I'm happy.
And I don't listen to any podcasts. That's the thing. Which
is so strange.
I watch Good Mythical Morning on YouTube with my kids. That's my only introduction to this world. And and those guys go 15 minutes tops, and we're doing 30 minutes, and I feel like there's a lot of things we could get to, but what I like about 30 minutes is it forces us to maybe arrive at a conclusion, maybe a bit sooner than we'd like sometimes. I think today we kind of came at our conclusion probably 15-20 minutes in, and we kind of explored it a bit further out of that. I think some days maybe we're going to have to really rush to get 30 minutes into a conclusion. Like, we'll figure it out, right?
We're not pastors, we're not scholars, we're not experts in the field, right? So a 2-hour conversation is more of us.
But here's what I think you have to offer, and hopefully me. I think we can hit really taboo, rainbow-type discussions, very liberal.
Yeah.
We can tackle it, I think, with some maturity and immaturity, but at least kind of hit it and not be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Right? Let's not be afraid
of it. I think that's a key point of it.
And it's okay if we're wrong.
I'm happy to be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm sure you would have told me already.
Yeah.
Just let it be known I'm happy to be wrong.
So then how do we wrap this up? We're going to say that the initial question, are we going to poop? Do we have a butthole in heaven? What do you think?
I for sure hope that I do. Well, not hope. I fully believe that I will poop in heaven out of my own butthole.
Very confident. I actually do hope I have a butthole in heaven. I think it implies the greater experience of eating, which I really like.
Yeah.
And I don't think pooping it's physically dirty, but it's not dirty in a sinful way.
Even then, it's physically not dirty. Like, I work with poo all day long.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So dirty is just your perception of.
So our view of what heaven will look like, I think, does allow for a butthole in heaven. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's bad or evil or even gross. So I think I would agree. I think we've concluded, at least from our perception, what heaven's going to be like. It totally allows for buttholes.
Yep.
Buttholes actually aren't even bad, and it's actually a necessity if we want to experience the joys of eating, in my opinion. So, what do you say? That's it for this episode?
Yeah, that was a great conversation.
Fantastic conversation.
So, if you like this conversation, you got anything out of it, please share it with somebody that you think would also get something out of it. If you laughed, then make sure that you tell us that you laughed so that we know that we're funny and it's not just us sitting here laughing. I mean, I'm okay with that.
Me too.
That's fine, because I'm happy and I'm enjoying this. But if you laughed, that'd be great. Let us know that you laughed. And
thanks for watching this episode of Rainbow Jesus 3000. We're having these conversations,
so your pastors don't have to.
Thank you.